In honor of the late Reverend William J. Millor of the Society of Jesus, who served the university in a variety of posts for 28 years before his death in 1977, a committee of faculty, administrators, and students have designated a member of the senior class to make a presentation at these exercises. Speaking on behalf of the class is Thomas Gregory Haren. Mr. Haren.
My grandpa, a seashell, and a sermon. It may be a bit simple to sum up my years here at Carroll into those three things, but after being a philosophy major for the past few years, I don't like complicated things anymore. So I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I remember move-in day at the beginning of my freshman year. After kissing my parents goodbye, I went back and sat down in my dorm in the basement of Pacelli, sat down at my desk and thought, okay, now what? I was on my own for the first time in my life. And I spent a lot of that first year really trying to stretch my wings. That is to say, I spent most of my time seeing how much trouble I could get away with. And I went out, partied, met like a million people. I thought, oh yeah, life is good. But then something happened. Something happened that changed me in a way that was so profound that to this day, I still can't help but think about it. A few days before Christmas that year, my grandpa Content passed away. And I came back to Carroll that following January with a sense that life needed to be about more than just going through the motions, that we're supposed to live for more than Saturday nights and pub crawls. I began to realize that we, as recipients of a higher education from a place like Carroll, have an obligation to be more than just another college student. We have the obligation to be significant. Significant, though, in a way that improves the lives and communities around us. We were as students, and we are now as graduates, men and women for others. My junior year, I was applying to go on an immersion trip, and one of the questions on the application read, what do you think the difference is between volunteering and doing service work? I thought it was an interesting question. Up until that point, I hadn't really separated the two. And I think what it is that volunteering entails this notion that we go out and we help those who need us, because we don't really need that much. We help those who are less fortunate than we are. But service, rather, is work that we do because we realize that we need it, just as much as anybody else. Whether those whom we serve are sitting next to us in class, whether they live here downtown, or whether or not they're half the globe away. Service, true service, transcends borders and city limits. It has no regard for walls or boundaries. Case in point, this past spring break, I had the opportunity to go on the STLF Pay It Forward tour. And what the Pay It Forward tour is it's a service trip that takes place over the 9 days of spring break. And we stopped in something like 7 separate cities in 5 different states. We did a service project in each city. And while we were in Jackson, Mississippi, we were doing some work at a day shelter for homeless individuals. And I met this guy named Tony. Tony and I were talking, and as we're leaving, Tony said, what I do is I advocate for homeless people. But before he could continue, he caught himself. He said, actually, I shouldn't say that. Tony said, I advocate for people, whether they're homeless or not. It stunned me that here was a guy with little educational background who hit on this very profound concept. No matter who we are, or where we come from, or what we do, we're all in this together. See, the kind of work that Tony did leads us to see one another without precondition. What he was talking about wasn't only service for others, but rather work done hand in hand with others, benefiting a common human community. We ended the Pay It Forward tour in the 9th Ward of New Orleans. And while we were down there, we split up into 2 groups. The first group, the group that I was part of, went to the upper 9th Ward, and we did some work on a house that was lucky to still be standing after the storm. Because the second group, they went to the lower 9th Ward. And their job was to go down and pick up trash. They didn't realize was that picking up trash meant picking up a teacup over here, a Barbie doll over there, a driver's license over here. They walked down streets lined with cement stairs that used to lead up to where houses were, to front porches and open doors. See, when the floodwaters came and broke through the retaining walls, they came through so fast, so powerfully, that they literally picked the houses up off of their foundations and smashed them into one another, leaving only remnants of where they once stood. The group found these seashells 5 blocks from where those retaining walls broke. So one of the guys on the trip said, seashells, they don't belong in neighborhoods. Everyone on the trip grabbed a seashell to remind us always of New Orleans, because the 9th Ward has left an impression on us that we'll not soon forget. That's the funny thing about service work. A lot of times we go out thinking that we're going to go and we're going to change the world. First, the world changes us. And that's what Carroll teaches us, that when we do service, we are the ones who truly benefit, and we owe our own improvement directly to those whom we serve. What we become then are not merely men and women for others, but rather men and women for, with, and because of others. I'd like to end today with a story I heard a while ago called the 30-Second Sermon. And I can't remember if I heard it in one of those email forwards that goes around, if I heard it from a friend in class, or maybe even from my own priest. But I couldn't really remember how it went, so I did what any self-respecting Carroll graduate would do. I Googled it. And what I found was, funny enough, a little bit longer than 30 seconds, so I'm going to kind of give the spark guns version. So there's this priest out on retreat one day, and he's trying to come up with a sermon to give to his congregation the following Sunday. And every time he writes something down, he's got to scrap it and start all over again, because he's always worried he's going to offend someone. And that's when it hit him. You know, his whole life had been spent living in a comfortable home, giving comfortable sermons to comfortable people. So he goes into church that next Sunday, and he walks up behind the pulpit when it's time for him to give the homily, and he says, "Today, I'm only going to talk for 30 seconds. It's going to be the shortest sermon I've ever given, but it's going to be the most important. I'm only going to make 3 points. First, there are millions of homeless and hungry people all over the world. Secondly, there are a lot of people out there who don't give a damn about that. Finally, many of you are more upset that I just said damn at the pulpit by the fact that there are millions of homeless people with nothing to eat." John Carroll instills in us what really matters. We now have the ability to do great things. Our job now is to go out and do them. It's our turn now to prove that we have what it takes to affect the world around us in meaningful, compassionate ways. Fellow graduates, let us go now and lead through our action. This is our call to arms. We will certainly be tested, and we will surely be tried. But as a member of the class of 2008, I know we will answer that call. Congratulations, everybody. We finally did it.